I'm so pleased that we could be here and that you've made the choice to join us to talk about empathy and to witness an empathy circle. So this will be an experience where we're going to simulate a circle so you can see what it's like. The Empathy Center was established a number of years ago, and hallmark activity of the center is the empathy circle. And so they are implemented in a variety of places and in different ways with a number of facilitators. I attended an empathy circle cafe several months ago and have been enamored with empathy circles ever since. And we're graciously joined by many of my cafe colleagues here who have offered their time and expertise. And so I'm really appreciative of that. Yeah, our goal is to demonstrate for you the empathy circle, which is part of the movement. And we are committed to growing the empathy movement. And we think this is a vehicle. We've experienced this vehicle and believe that it's worthy of sharing with the wider audience. And so before we begin the simulation, I'd like to just share a little bit of background information so you know what you're witnessing. And I have a very brief PowerPoint here. And so to create a culture of empathy, the circle employs a structured dialogue process of mutual active listening and reflection. The core values of this practice are mutuality, openness, care, and empathy. Key features of the empathy circle is that it's based on the work of Carl Rogers, whom many of you I'm sure know about. He was an American psychologist and who was very humanistic in his approach. Anyone can learn to be a facilitator. It employs an egalitarian structure and it's applicable to endless settings and groups. It was Edwin Rutch who developed this practice 11 years ago. Edwin took Rogers' work, which was based on individual therapy sessions, and made it a more relational practice. The relationships formed during the circles contributes to creating a culture of empathy, including self-empathy. The circle is made of four roles. There's the facilitator, the speaker, the active listener, and the silent listeners. So in today's circle, I'll be the facilitator, and my role will be to manage the time, keep the flow going, provide the topic, but I also get to speak, and I get to be an active listener and a silent listener. There'll be one speaker at a time who will speak to the question at hand or whatever is alive in them. And the active listener is the one who mirrors for that speaker what is being heard. The silent listener, everyone else, is a very important and active role. This is where individuals will witness the exchange between the speaker and the active listener. The circle typically continues on. It could be 3 or 4 cycles on the same question. And so what happens is depth. Depth comes from there. And these are things that one sort of has to experience to really know, but we will be able to at least cycle through 2 circles on our question today. Okay. So as you view the simulation, I think it would be important to note, what's the topic that they're addressing, right? I mean, it could be, what brings you joy, a very happy type of a thought is wonderful, or whatever is alive in you is always attached, because sometimes one needs to just simply speak about whatever is there, right? And the reason for that is so we have equal opportunity in the time frame that we have, so everyone has a chance to speak. For the active listener, it's challenging and it takes a little bit of practice. It's a different kind of an engagement with people, different from normal conversation. And sometimes the reflector will tell back exactly what is heard, and that's fine. Or one might change the wording a little bit. The idea is to get to the essence of what the person is saying so that they feel heard. And so we ask the speaker to actually sort of pace how much information they're giving to the listener so that they can respond properly. And silent listeners are simply present. They're not distracting the group, but they're an important witness to the process. So you want to remember that the purpose is for the speaker to feel heard. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing now because, yes, That's for later. And we are going to demonstrate the empathy circle. And I am going to suggest our topic be, why do empathy circles matter to you? Or why do them? Why do they matter? Or whatever is alive in you. Given the time frame that we have today, we're anticipating 2 circles of 3 minutes each. And as the facilitator, I'm going to model the active listening. So I'll be the first listener. And I would ask if anybody would like to go first today.
I can go.
Ingrid, wonderful. Okay, thank you.
The empathy circle practice matters to me on various levels.
So I hear you saying that the empathy circle practice is important to you on many different levels.
Yeah, one is the personal level, that I notice that when I participate in a circle, I feel good. Being heard calms me down and just makes me feel good.
So on a personal level, empathy circles make you feel good because you feel heard.
Yeah, and it's also very easy to participate in an empathy circle.
So you believe it's easy. It's not a stretch. It's easy to participate.
For me, yeah. So when I feel more relaxed, then this is another level. My interactions with other people are more positive.
And so an outcome that comes from that, from feeling more comfortable and relaxed, because you're not especially challenged, because it feels good, the interactions you have with other people improve.
Yeah. And then ultimately, I see a potential to create real change through empathy circles, because if a lot of people feel that way, then we can create a world where people feel heard, and as a result, they will interact more positively.
And so you see a lot of promise in this practice of empathy circles, because if you feel this and you see it amongst other members of the group, that if we could just bring this to more people, it's probably an inevitable outcome, right? That people will respond similarly and people will be able to communicate.
Yes.
In a healthy way.
Yes. And that's why I feel for myself that to have at least one, but better 2 circles a week is really a little bit like a psychological hygiene, like a preventative practice.
So you participate in circles once or twice a week, probably sometimes more than that. And you find that it's restorative and it's a regular part of your routine of self-care.
Yes. And I also engage myself in bringing this to others because I want to share it.
Yeah. So you see lots of value in sharing empathy circles.
Yeah. Thank you. I feel heard. Thank you,
Ingrid. Awesome. Thank you. Okay. And so since I served as the listener, it's my turn to speak to the question or whatever's alive in me. I'm going to select a listener and I'm going to ask Bill if he'd be willing to listen.
Sure. Love to.
So I'm the newbie in the group, but I had to share. This was an opportunity that was presented and I just jumped.
So you're expressing that you're a newbie in the group, but this opportunity came along and you felt that you just had to jump on it and take advantage.
I actually landed on an Edwin post some years ago on LinkedIn, said I was interested, but I was a doctoral student at the time and I just had to put it on the back burner. But this past summer, I was able to finally jump in.
So you first encountered the empathy circle online several years ago when you were a doctoral student, but you couldn't really budget the time because of your studies to really participate. And then you found it a few months ago, and then you were able to connect.
Yeah, I think I'm right on time. The growth opportunities have been immense. I've transformed in a matter of months every time, something new.
So you really felt that the benefits have been really, you said, immense, and you feel yourself changing, transforming, and I assume in a good way.
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. And so I want to bring it to as many people as I can, introduce it to students in my classes. And I'm working toward working with my loved ones, my family, and I look forward to my cafe every week.
So you're looking to spread it to your students, and probably a higher bar and more challenging is your family, as everyone's family is. And you're looking forward to spreading the practice and seeing those, sharing those effects that you've benefited you so much.
Thank you, Bill. I feel fully heard.
Sure. I'll talk to Valerie.
Listening, Bill?
Thanks. Um, yeah, what you see in the picture behind me is some of my students. I was a special education teacher 40 years, dealing with students in danger of being removed from their home.
Right. So the picture behind you reflects some of the students. You used to be a special education teacher for 40 years, and you worked with them. They were in danger of being removed from their own home.
Right. And also, many of them were violent.
Many of the children were violent.
Right. And so what I found, my epiphany, was that sometimes a student would act out impulsively and just throw a chair or a book, and you had no idea why. But then we would meet up afterwards and we would ask, what was the communicative intent of that act?
Right. So sometimes in their violence, they would have outbursts. They might throw something. And then afterwards, what you found out is to really sort of get down to what was the intent of that communication? What were they trying to communicate by throwing things?
Right. And at first I'm saying, well, who knew? I was confused. But actually, when we did our homework, we found that they hadn't been fed or they had seen a violent act or something. And when we could address that and meet their needs, like if they were hungry, give them food, the violence went down precipitously.
Right. So what you discovered is that they weren't getting their needs met. And this is why they were acting out in such a way. And by responding to their needs, by perhaps giving them some food, that their violence went down precipitously.
Yeah. And then when I retired, I wanted to bring this, this listening, which I felt was so needed. And there was so much pain I was seeing. And I went to Berkeley, and that's where I met Edwin.
Right. So you wanted to share the listening. You ended up at Berkeley and you met Edwin.
Right. And I see the music is playing me off. So thank you. I feel very heard. Thanks for listening.
Okay, great. Thank you, Bill. Daniel, would you please listen?
Yes.
Thank you. So yeah, one of the reasons why I really love empathy circles is because it just brings me into the present moment.
You love empathy circles because they bring you into the present moment.
I mean, I'm just so busy with my company and promoting a book that actually Bill happens to be in it as his role as a teacher, and so I need something to bring me into presence.
Yeah, and it helps you in your really busy life. You have several projects going on. You're building a business and you're promoting a book, which also Bill is part of, and that's like constant activity. And so this space provides the slowdown.
Yeah, the other thing I really noticed, especially when I first started doing empathy circles a few years ago, was that I was, through that presence, I was able to actually witness what was going on with my body.
Yeah, and you discovered a few years ago that when you come to that kind of presence, that you become more aware of things that are more you become aware of what's really happening in your body.
Right, because Bill certainly would remember this. I was like a deer caught in headlights. I didn't even have anything to share my first few turns, and sometimes I would even sit in silence and ask them if they would hold silence for me because I couldn't even think of what to say.
Yeah, and so initially when you joined empathy circles, you felt like a deer in headlights. You were like, when it came to you speaking, you had a hard time to even get into something, and sometimes you asked even to just sit in silence with each other.
I mean, I definitely wasn't being seen or heard, and especially I felt it personally as a woman, just not being seen or heard, or just being cut off while I'm speaking. And what Empathy Circle did for me is it actually gave me an opportunity to be able to finish a sentence. It was wonderful.
Yeah, it sounds like you were so used to be kind of cut off and not be in touch with what's really happening inside of you, that it took a while for that to get online, and the empathy circles really connected that for you and brought more authenticity, if I infer a little bit.
Yeah, and I'll just clarify that I was in touch with myself. It was just that no one would listen long enough. And so what I learned is how to speak in a way that is present so that other people will listen. So I lost my nervousness that was kind of causing people to kind of cut me off in a way. Not that no responsibility on either side, but it's something that I learned, a skill.
Right, yeah. So you were in touch with yourself, but the way you communicated it to others made it really hard for them to hear you. through this process, found a way to better communicate where you're really at. And by that, also, you got heard.
Yes. Thank you, Daniel. I feel fulfilled. Thank
Right.
you.
Yeah, so how about Jean? I talk to you?
Yay.
Yeah, for me, it's just so relaxing to be with each other and be able to just be whoever I am and be welcome, whatever way I show up.
So you really enjoy coming to circles because you can just be yourself and not worry about judgment, or you just show up.
Right, and I feel like it's a grand practice, this kind of brave listening, because we're saying to the world, no matter what you say, we can hear it.
So for you, this is a grand practice because people can say whatever it is they need to say, and we're here for one another.
And that's a missing piece to free speech. You can have as much free speech as you want. If nobody listens to you, just like what Valerie was sharing, then who cares what you express? It doesn't really matter.
So real listening, deep listening, is being present for the other person, and that's missing in society. People react rather than listen.
And there's an element of like touching a certain point in us. It's like the point of emptiness in a way. When you share like this in 3 rounds, you get to a point of silence sometimes. And it's like a sensation of, I actually expressed where I was for this moment. I arrived. And that rarely ever happens otherwise.
So this experience of being in an empathy circle is really different from other experiences because you go through several rounds sometimes, and then it might uncover something for you. And yeah, that doesn't really happen anywhere else.
Yeah, so it's almost like the end of the exhale, like where we actually relax. There is like the deeper sensations, and when we share them, I sort of like, I'm actually here. And I can do this for myself, maybe in meditation, but to do that with you, that's rare. That's just really special.
So it's like the end of an exhale, and you can meditate on your own, which is wonderful in and of itself. But to do that in the presence of others together in community just brings it to another place. Relaxing.
Yeah, and there may be people who I encounter this that find it awkward that somebody repeating back, why do we have to do that? And to me, it's similar to like, it's a slow down form of music making, because in music making, you do the same thing. You constantly put something out and you have to listen to what comes back. It just sort of happens faster. And it only works in music when we have a beat. And here it only works when we have timing and everybody's equal. And so there's like that element. So it unlocks something, even though it may feel weird in the beginning.
So this process of speaking back to a person and mirroring what you hear might seem kind of awkward and unusual at first, but you sort of liken the experience to making music in that you have to have a beat, you have to have timing in order for everything to work together. And so maybe you could repeat that last part for me.
And the listening and playing happens simultaneously. Here it's after each other. That's all, but it has the similarity there.
Wow. Okay. And so the speaking and the listening don't happen at the same time, but yeah,
it's leveled.
It's leveled. Okay. You did address
something like
equanimity among the group too, right? Yeah.
Thank you for reflecting that. I feel fully heard.
Yeah.
I know that's a little complicated, but
That's okay.
I can feel it. I feel it.
Always stimulating.
All right.
Okay, well, Ingrid, do you remember my listener? Okay, I have to make sure that I pay attention to the clock. So what I would like to share at this point is an epiphany that I had last night.
Last night? Yeah, last night you had an epiphany.
I really did. And there was some kind of a depth that I got to that I need to explore some more, because it was nearing the end of the evening and it was 10:30 my time, as you guys are on the opposite side of the coast and I'm at the country. But I was really quite surprised at what bubbled up for me.
Something you want to explore more. There was a depth that you feel as something, a treasure to be found, and you haven't had a chance yet to explore that because it was late last night.
I've been thinking a lot about turning 60 now, the big 60, and I got been a student and a teacher forever. I'm always learning, and yet there's a world that I need to immerse myself in more and that is humanity.
Yeah. You have a big birthday coming up, and it sounds like it makes you kind of reflecting what's going on, and you notice about yourself that you have been a lifelong learner. And yet there's another level of learning, something where you want to immerse yourself in it. It has to do with our humanity.
And I was thinking about how much more I want to grow in terms of relationship with others, allowing people in and being let in.
So the area where you feel a desire to grow is in relationships, and you're in touch with this process of relationships being something where you let someone in and you allow someone else to let you in.
Thank you, Ingrid. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bill, would you be my listener?
Sure.
Yeah, Valerie talked about that, the relaxation that being listened to provided to, and it's something that I also experienced, that it's such an important part for me of the empathy circle.
So Valerie talked about the relaxation that happens in participating in a circle, and you feel that too.
Yeah, and at one of the last circles we talked about a certain performance anxiety that people even have when it comes to listening, but it's also omnipresent in our world, our society, I should say.
So in the last circle, we talked about the performance anxiety that people can have in participating in an empathy circle, both, I guess, speaking and listening. And the other part, it was a little bit abstract for me. So I
Yeah,
don't know.
it's just people were saying that they in general experience the performance pressure to perform.
Oh, and so it's a general feeling whenever people are called on to perform or do something.
Yeah. So a learning of mine has been that I can actually listen better when I relax. So it's kind of this self-propelling process. I relax more, I listen better, which allows me to relax more. And that's for me a core quality of the circle.
So you find that the circle produces a very functional reaction in you, in that when you relax, then the performance anxiety reduces. That means that you listen better and so on and so forth. And yeah, and you feel more relaxed and more competent.
Yeah. And what appears, what shows up is that the listening is actually pretty easy and the being present is actually pretty easy. It's something that we kind of all know how to do.
Yeah, and so when you experience the circle, you find that these fears that you have are not necessarily well-founded, and you find that you kind of outgrow them. And that's an interpretation on my part. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you could say it that way. I think I think in the context of the performance anxiety that people suffer from the stress that they always have to be better and give their best to come to a circle where they can kind of drop this idea. It's just special. That's it's very beneficial.
So what I sense is that you're contrasting what many of us feel in society, whereas every time we're doing something or being observed, we also feel judged and people are judging. And that's the opposite of what happens in a circle. And so therefore, that's very beneficial.
Exactly. Thank you. I feel heard. Exactly.
All right. And do I have a time for, I think it's,
I think we have time for one more.
okay. I'll be fine for passing my turn to Valerie if she'd like to speak.
Oh, thanks, Bill. Would you mind reflecting?
No, absolutely not.
Okay, great. Thank you. One of the things I really like about Empathy Circle is that I can take a deep breath and that it's okay.
One of the things you like is that you can take a deep breath and it's okay in an empathy circle.
Yeah, meaning that it's not awkward, especially when we are members that come back to circles and we kind of know each other and we become comfortable, but it's a space where I can just allow myself to be more authentic.
So it's a space, as you said, that which allows you to be more authentic. And if you have to take a breath or something like that, the empathy circle allows it. And in addition, if you're in an empathy circle with people you know very well, then you feel assured that that's not going to be a big deal.
Yeah. So the awkward pause is is gone, which is wonderful. Yeah, because I can take as much time as I want in my turn, and that's really a wonderful gift.
Yeah, and you find it's really a wonderful gift in the sense that this time is your time, and so that eliminates the awkward pause. It's all part of everything.
One of the most powerful things I learned from this process is the power of self-empathy.
And so one of the things you learned that was very valuable is self-empathy.
Yeah, and so as everyone here knows, I host the Power of Self-Empathy Empathy Circle, which is one of the benefits of not only the process but being a facilitator is to be able to create and host a kind of empathy circle that caters to this type of special topics such as self-empathy.
So you host a circle, a regular circle on self-empathy, and you find that that's what was it? A rich not minefield or field, a rich source of content and, for people to talk about.
Yeah, it creates a space to just be sort of dive deeper and explore a little bit more from in different ways and different perspectives. And so that's been a really sort of benefit as well.
Yeah, so you were talking about the different facets of self-empathy and how that really is, helps people, I think, in their self-discovery. And that's sort of my word. I don't know if it's yours.
Yeah, it is. And I'll just finish by saying that I think that when we give empathy to ourselves, that's when we can give empathy to others. And if we don't have that empathy for ourselves, it becomes more difficult to give to others. And so that's been a wonderful gift that I've learned through this process is that by cherishing myself and my life and my humanness, that I can do that with others.
So you're referring to the fact that when one gives oneself self-empathy, that empowers oneself to give empathy to others. And then a rough analogy is like on the plane when they say, when they need oxygen, give yourself oxygen before you give it to somebody else. You got to take care of yourself. And once that's done, you have bandwidth for others.
Yeah, and I'll actually leave it by something that you had said, Bill, once that was very profound, and I think that all of us echo, which is that empathy actually creates vulnerability in the way that it empowers you. It's a powerful type of vulnerability, which is just it's a magnificent aspect of expressing ourselves as human beings.
Yeah, and so you're seeing that empathy empowers us to be vulnerable, but rather than the usual interpretation of vulnerability, which means weakness, it actually it helps us get in touch with our inner strength that is below all those fears. And again, that's my interpretation. Feel free to correct me.
No, that's perfect. Thank you so much, Bill. I feel fully heard.
My pleasure.
Well, that was lovely. But for the sake of time, I think we have to close and provide opportunity for folks to engage with us if they have questions or feedback.
I think this is such a mind-blowing experience for me because I've not seen anything like this before. I don't know about everyone else, but personally, and it's very peaceful. And I think it has reminded me that peace also begins with small interpersonal practices. And before we do policy, negotiation, intervention, there must be human connection, yeah? And basically also the session has reaffirmed that deeply listening is like one of the most powerful peace-building tools, and it will transform things. Yeah, for me, it has encouraged me to approach conflict with more maybe patience, humility, openness.
There is
there's someone who wants to comment. Lena
wants to comment, so we can actually let Lena
speak.
Let me go and find her in the attendees, and I can open her up. Allowed to talk. Lena, you are allowed to talk.
Oh, you can hear me? Okay.
Lena.
I came late and I just started listening. And I was immediately sucked in and slowed down. It was incredible. I wasn't even involved and I didn't even know what to expect. And it immediately brought me into this amazing, peaceful place. So thank you.
Lovely. I actually just tried to post.
May I share something?
Didn't work. Please.
I like to follow up on what David said, absorbing. For me, Marshall Rosenberg used the word receiving each other. And that really speaks to me. You know, the absorbing part would mean that I now have to sort of really internalize you. And I think that's a little bit of a misunderstanding of empathy sometimes. But to receive somebody means I can let you completely, I can hear you, I can reflect you back, and I don't have to agree with you or have to endorse what you're saying, or I'm not polluted by listening to you. I can just receive you and give you by that the signal that I fully accept your presence here, 100%. And that is a deep signal that we need, I think, in peacemaking.
Marcia, Marcia, I think.
Marcia, yeah.
Yeah, Marcia, you've got something. Yeah.
Hi, thank you so much for this session. And the modeling was really amazing in order to be able to track it and understand multiple layers of nuance with it. So thank you for bringing it to this space. I was just curious, and I'm sorry if you've already talked about this and I missed it, but has anyone used this in active conflict resolution / transformation work with parties who are conflicting and trying to find their way to a new place? I mean, I heard that people use it as a daily, weekly, monthly practice, but I was curious to hear how and if it's been used kind of to actively engage in interpersonal conflict.
NVC people. Bill?
Sure. We also have an empathy tent, and we take out the empathy tent to protests or rallies on the left and the right to try to get them together. And there's a wonderful film by a young filmmaker, I believe from Colombia, a young woman, called Trumpphobia, What the Democrats Fear. And at the end of the film, there's Edwin, our founder, taking a person from the MAGA right and then the left, and they're in an empathy circle and they end up hugging. I'm not saying that happens all the time. It's a tough,
Sure.
lift, but that's what we try to do.
Any success is, yeah. Thank
Moving
you.
forward. Yeah.
Yeah. I could also be very useful, as a complement to restorative justice mediations and doing work with families. And I could see a range of applications where it would be very valuable. Yeah, so thank you for sharing.